Jean Smart has just returned to Broadway in the hit play Call Me Izzy, and critics can't stop raving. The New York Times cheers. Jean Smart is an awe-inspiring triumph. Deadline calls it a tour de force performance and a remarkable new play. The audience is dazzled and completely in her hands, says The New Yorker, and The Washington Post adds, Jean Smart is transfixing. Call Me Izzy, the can't-miss Broadway event of the summer, through August 17th only.
On today's Smart 7, Labour marks 1 year in power, dozens missing after Texas flash floods, and much more. It's Monday, 7th of July, it's World Chocolate Day, and happy birthday, Ringo Starr.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
This weekend marked 1 year of Keir Starmer's Labour Party in government, and it's been a bit of a mixed bag so far. While polling numbers have been poor, there's been some progress on the cost of living crisis, but last week's disastrous wrestling match with Labour backbenchers over the welfare bill has cast a shadow over any celebrations. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson was on media duty on Sunday, and she was warning that the welfare bill rebellion will have knock-on impacts on the budget.
It will be the moral mission of this Labour government to lift children out of poverty. It does come at a cost. And that's why, in keeping with our fiscal rules, we do need to make sure that we have a strong foundation for the economy. We make sure we get this right. These ultimately will be matters that the Chancellor has to consider right across the board.
Tory Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride wasn't getting involved in the celebrations either. He was much keener that the government should cut sickness benefits for foreign nationals.
What we know is that it's doubled over the last 3 years, and we know that the costs actually at a household level is about £1 billion per month. And what we're actually saying is we're not coming forward with absolute nailed-down policy in this area. We just think that it's very important that this is an area that's properly looked at.
The last year hasn't seen much good news for Labour in terms of opinion polls, with the party second to reform in most surveys. And while the Conservatives have also consistently lost ground and Sir Keir Starmer remains more popular than Nigel Farage, the news overall hasn't been good. So Starmer won't have been thrilled by the announcement that Labour rebels are keen to set up their own party. Former Labour MP Zara Sultana says she is in discussion with former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn about co-chairing a new party, but another former Labour leader, Lord Kinnock, doesn't sound too impressed.
Well, I understand they're having a bit of difficulty over thinking up a name. In a comradely way, I'd suggest one. It would be the Farage Assistance Group.
Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson was downplaying the potential for a Labour rebel alliance.
It's up to them what they do. I think it's been a slightly confused picture. I think what I'm interested in working on every day is how we actually demonstrate the difference that a Labour government makes to people's lives.
Central Texas was hit by devastating flash floods this weekend, which saw at least 82 people killed and many more, including 10 young girls still missing. A Christian summer camp called Camp Mystic along the banks of the Guadalupe River is the focus of the search, where the girls, mostly under the age of 12, were swept away. Rescue workers have pledged to continue until everyone is found, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott has declared a disaster and mobilised state resources to help. The river rose over 20 feet in the space of an hour on Friday evening, and flood warnings appear to have been issued too late. Rick Spinrad, a former official at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, says recent budget cuts have impacted the Weather Service.
Without research, without staff to do the work, we can assume that the predictions, and not just hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, drought, wildfires, tsunamis, for that matter, are undoubtedly going to degrade. And that means that people's ability to prepare for these storms will be compromised.
Monday sees Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu due to meet US President Trump at the White House. It had seemed likely that the meeting would involve some kind of announcement around a ceasefire in Gaza after diplomatic efforts across the weekend. Friday saw Hamas deliver what they called a positive response to ceasefire proposals after work by Egypt, Qatar and the US. The Israeli PM described the proposed changes as unacceptable. However, he still dispatched a negotiating team to Qatar this weekend, but it's not clear if there's been progress, and Israeli strikes killed at least 38 people in Gaza on Sunday. Nomi Bar Yaakov is an international peace negotiator, and she says pressure from Trump could be crucial.
The whole world is fed up with this, and it's time to conclude this. I think this proposal is also very precarious and volatile, but I think it will happen. And it will stick if US President Donald Trump decides to exercise the leverage that he has over Israel.
Still to come on today's Smart 7 in association with Metro, a British winner at Silverstone and Black Sabbath bow out. Right after this.
If you're running a business, you know that every time you miss a call, you're leaving money on the table. When every customer conversation matters, you need a phone system that keeps up and helps you stay connected 24/7. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. It works through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or using a landline. Plus, say goodbye to voicemail. Their AI agent can be set up in minutes to handle calls after hours, answer questions, and capture leads, so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off of your first 6 months at openphone.com/business. That's openphone.com/business. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Welcome back. We're heading into week 2 of Wimbledon, and there's only one Brit left. Cameron Norrie battled back from a mid-game upset to win 3-2 in his battle with Nicholas Jarry, and now has a quarter-final to look forward to. This weekend also saw the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, with Max Verstappen starting from pole after an incredible last-gasp qualifying session. The race didn't go his way, though, and a 10-second penalty for McLaren's Oscar Piastri handed Lando Norris his first Silverstone win. Lewis Hamilton was pipped for 3rd place by the 37-year-old Nico Hülkenberg, who picked up his first podium position in his 239th race. Lando was delighted with what he called a beautiful win.
You know, the last few laps I was just looking into the crowd. I was just trying to take it all in, enjoy the moment, because it might never happen again. Hope it does, but these are memories that I'll bring with me forever. So, incredible achievement.
Saturday saw Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath officially retire, with a massive gig in Birmingham. 40,000 fans packed into Villa Park for a day-long metal festival, with acts including Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and supergroups which saw performances from Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, and the Rolling Stones' Ronnie Wood. Ozzy himself appeared on stage despite his Parkinson's diagnosis, performing from a black and purple throne as the metal legends bid farewell to their home fans. Former Van Halen vocalist Sammy Hagar was among those paying tribute.
There's not another guy as respected in metal as Ozzy Osbourne. And for him to be sick and not be, and to be saying, I'm out, I'm done, man, there's no one else that can replace that.
There's a new action movie on the way that's probably best described as a post-apocalyptic Indiana Jones adventure. It stars Dave Bautista, former pro wrestler and ex-Guardian of the Galaxy, and it's set in a devastated London 10 years after a solar flare wiped out most of modern civilization's technology. It's got a great cast including Samuel L. Jackson, former Bond girl Olga Kurylenko, and ex-Game of Thrones star Christopher Hivju. The plot involves a plan to steal back the Mona Lisa from an evil overlord, but it's mainly about car chases and many, many explosions. It's called Afterburn, and it hits cinemas in August.
If we're to rebuild, we have to hold on to every masterpiece of human achievement. Jake, you have a gift for acquiring treasures.
And what would I be hunting down this time?
Mona.
The Mona Lisa?
In all her glory.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Gene Smart has just returned to Broadway in the hit play, Call Me Izzy. And critics can't stop raving. The New York Times cheers. Gene Smart is an awe-inspiring triumph. Deadline calls it a tour de force performance and a remarkable new play. The audience is dazzled and completely in her hands, says The New Yorker. And the Washington Post adds, Gene Smart is transfixing. Call Me Izzy, the can't-miss Broadway event of the summer, through August 17th only.